The costume secrets behind Michael Jackson's legendary performances. Michael Jackson understood something that few performers ever truly mastered. Every detail mattered. His costumes were never simply clothes. A glove, a pair of socks, a military jacket, or even a battered pair of loafers could become part of a visual language that millions of people instantly recognized. Every piece was chosen to enhance movement, create mystery, improve visibility, or strengthen the character Michael Jackson presented on stage. Some of these choices became famous. Others remained hidden for years. And a few were surrounded by mysteries that fans continue to debate long after performances ended. From the single sequin glove to the famous anti-gravity lean, Michael's wardrobe was carefully connected to the way he performed. His clothes did not merely decorate the performance. In many cases, they helped create it. The one glove that changed pop culture. Perhaps no piece of clothing is more closely associated with Michael Jackson than his single sequin glove. When the glove caught the spotlight, it immediately drew attention to his hand. Every point, snap, spin, and gesture became more visible. For someone performing in enormous arenas, that mattered. A movement that might disappear at a distance suddenly became impossible to miss. The glove also had a more personal significance. Michael lived with vitiligo, and the glove could help conceal changes in pigmentation on his hand. Yet when asked about why he wore only one glove, his explanation was much simpler. One glove looked cooler than two. Many people associate the glove primarily with his legendary performance at Motown 25 in 1983. That performance certainly transformed it into a global symbol, but the glove was not actually created for that one appearance. Michael had already worn a single glove during earlier performances and tours. Motown 25 did not invent the symbol. It introduced the symbol to the world on an enormous scale. From that moment forward, the single glove became inseparable from Michael Jackson's identity. What began as a relatively small wardrobe decision became one of the most recognizable fashion statements in entertainment history. The shoes that made the impossible look easy. Michael's fascination with footwear went much deeper than appearance. During his famous performances of Smooth Criminal, audiences watched him lean dramatically forward at an angle that appeared physically impossible. The movement became one of his most famous visual trademarks. The secret was not simply balance. Michael and his team developed specially designed shoes that could interact with anchors built into the stage. The modified heels could lock into those mechanisms, allowing him to lean forward far beyond what a normal person could safely accomplish without assistance. The invention was significant enough to receive a United States patent in 1993. But the technology was only part of the illusion. The audience did not see the mechanism. They saw Michael Jackson apparently ignoring gravity. That distinction was crucial. The engineering created the possibility, but Michael's choreography and control created the magic. The audience saw a man tilt forward, hold a position, and return upright with seemingly effortless precision. The shoes were therefore not simply costumes. They were performance equipment. And Michael was extremely protective of the footwear he used for his choreography, the socks that made his feet visible. Michael understood the problem of distance better than almost anyone. A performer standing hundreds of feet away from an audience cannot rely only on facial expressions. Small movements can disappear completely in a large arena. That is one reason his famous combination of black loafers and bright white socks became so effective. The contrast made his feet highly visible against darker stages and costumes. Some of his stage socks were also decorated with crystals that reflected the lighting, making his footwork even easier to see. This was particularly important because Michael's choreography depended heavily on his feet. The moonwalk, rapid spins, sudden stops, kicks, and precise footwork were central elements of his performances. If the audience could not clearly see his feet, part of the performance disappeared. The clothing solved that problem. To the audience, the white socks and black shoes looked like a distinctive fashion choice. To Michael, they were part of the choreography. The white tape on his fingers. Michael also understood how to make his hands visible from a great distance. White tape placed around selected fingers could catch stage lighting and make his hand movements stand out against the darkness. The placement was not necessarily identical on every occasion, but the principle was simple. Emphasize the fingers that carried the most visual impact. When Michael pointed toward the audience, raised his hand, or performed one of his characteristic gestures, the white tape created a visual highlight. For the person sitting close to the stage, the effect might have seemed subtle. For someone hundreds of feet away, it could be the difference between seeing a hand clearly and seeing only a silhouette. This was Michael's approach to performance design in miniature. Even something as ordinary as a strip of tape could become part of a larger system designed to communicate movement. The Thriller jacket. Few costumes have become as recognizable as the red jacket Michael wore in the Thriller era. The jacket's sharp shoulders, black detailing, and strong silhouette created an instantly recognizable image. When it appeared on television in the early 1980s, it became one of the defining looks of the decade. The impact was enormous. Fans wanted their own versions. Imitations appeared in stores and markets, and the jacket became a fashion phenomenon rather than merely a costume from a music video. Michael's team even took legal action against unauthorized versions. The original garment later became a valuable piece of music history, selling at auction for a price approaching $2 million. But its real value cannot be measured by money. The jacket became attached to a specific cultural moment. When people see its distinctive red and black design, they do not simply see clothing. They immediately think of Michael Jackson, Thriller, the famous choreography, and the extraordinary transformation of the music video into a global cultural event. The jacket stopped being an object. It became a symbol. The borrowed suit that became an album cover. One of the most interesting stories in Michael Jackson's visual history involves the cover image associated with one of his greatest albums. Photographer Dick Zimmerman was working with Michael during a photo session when the original concept was not producing the desired result. Then Michael noticed the white suit Zimmerman himself was wearing. It was a crisp white Hugo Boss suit. The suit had not been planned as Michael's wardrobe for the shoot. It was simply what the photographer happened to be wearing. But Michael liked it. Zimmerman eventually allowed Michael to wear it, and the borrowed suit became part of the image that would be associated with one of the most important albums of Michael's career. The story demonstrates something fascinating about Michael's visual instincts. Sometimes the most powerful image was not the result of an elaborate plan. Sometimes he simply recognized the right image when he saw it. The mysterious armband. Another recurring element of Michael's wardrobe was the armband. It appeared on various outfits and became one of those details that fans noticed but could never completely explain. The armband helped create structure within his silhouette. It added another strong horizontal element to costumes dominated by jackets, gloves, metallic decorations, and accessories. But its meaning went beyond aesthetics. Michael's military-inspired clothing and accessories sometimes carried symbolic associations with suffering, children, and victims of war. The armband therefore contributed to a visual identity that combined strength, discipline, compassion, and mystery. And Michael rarely rushed to explain every detail. That silence was important. When an artist explains everything, there is little room left for imagination. Michael often allowed fans to wonder. The unanswered question became part of the design. The three-letter mystery. Perhaps one of the strangest examples was the appearance of three letters, CD, on some of Michael's clothing. Fans noticed the letters appearing on jackets and other outfits, and immediately began searching for an explanation. As happens with many mysteries surrounding famous people, theories multiplied. Some fans believed the letters represented a secret organization. Others imagined hidden meanings or personal messages. The actual explanation was much less complicated. According to the story surrounding the costumes, Michael's designers needed additional decoration and wanted some letters incorporated into the clothing. The letters were selected at random, reportedly from a hat, and Michael decided to use the result. There was no elaborate secret code, no hidden organization, no grand conspiracy, just three random letters that Michael chose to keep. Ironically, the simplicity made the mystery even more fascinating. Michael understood that people naturally search for meaning. If he gave them three unexplained letters, they would create their own explanations. He did not have to invent a mystery. He only had to refuse to solve it. The famous Bad Jacket. Michael's military and leather-inspired jackets became especially prominent during the Bad era. The black jacket associated with the Bad World Tour projected a completely different personality from the colorful Thriller look. It was darker, sharper, more aggressive, and heavily structured. Michael wore variations of this visual style throughout the Bad Era and on the massive world tour that followed. The clothing reinforced the attitude of performances. The jackets used leather buckles, angular details, metallic elements, and strong shoulders to create an almost armored appearance. Collectors later recognized the historical value of these pieces, and one of the famous jackets sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars at auction. Again, the price was only a reflection of something more important. The jacket represented a moment when Michael Jackson had become one of the biggest performers on the planet.